You're listening to the Brian Donahue Podcast, a production of Pursuit Friends' online community of Jesus followers, boldly going into the farthest reaches of the galaxy with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Pursuit Friends' online community is a place for Trekkies who love Jesus to talk all things Trek, their faith, and everything in between. Join me and special guests from around the world as we engage in relevant discussions about Trek and Jesus. Let's get ready to fly and boldly go right now. And welcome to episode 2 of the Brian Donahue Podcast. I'm your host, Pastor Brian, and I am very excited to share episode 2 with all of you who've been a part of the Pursuit Friends online community of Jesus followers. But I have some exciting news, at least I think it's exciting. Just yesterday, as of recording this episode, I spent some time overhauling all of the social media for our community after realizing that we needed a name change. Pursuit Friends online community of Jesus followers just wasn't descriptive enough. It was way too long. And even though I had the live long and prosper hand in there, you know, that Spock made famous in the original Star Trek as a part of the name, it just didn't say enough about the Trek side of things. Also, in a day and age where we are finding ourselves in the midst of an incredible time of division for all kinds of reasons, and I'll get into some of that in a moment, I wanted to make sure that our community, the Trek community and the faith community, had the best opportunity to know what we're about without having to explain in several paragraphs. Trek in Jesus, which is the new name of our community, kind of says it all for me. It says that fans of Star Trek are welcome here and followers of Jesus. You don't have to be both in order to be a part of this community either. Let me be totally clear. All are welcome. That being said, everyone should know that I'm a pastor who loves Jesus, is a huge Star Trek fan. The whole point of this group is to give Trekkies who love Jesus, are interested or intrigued with Jesus, a place to safely explore their faith and their fandom. We're drawn to Star Trek because of its inclusion, right? Because of its ideals that everyone belongs and fits and has a voice and a place at the table. Jesus also taught this. In fact, he influenced dynamic change in the world because of those teachings about love and grace and hope and making your life about more than just selfish gain. Jesus actually taught a gospel, which means literally good news, that believes in a brighter future, just like the good news of Star Trek does. There are liminal spaces for sure within these two fantastic things that we love, but we are choosing to intentionally live in those spaces with each other. We're going to talk about how our faith influences our fandom, how our fandom might influence our faith. We're going to have the discussion, but we're going to do it in a way that is bold, maybe even brave, but from a posture of listening and caring for each other. Our journey matters. How we feel matters, but we also need to care about truth. Jesus very famously said that he is the way, the truth, and the light. For those of us who are followers of Jesus, truth matters. And I think those of us who are Star Trek fans, truth matters too. But our tone must matter as well. Our heart position is really important when we enter into liminal spaces with people who think and live differently than us. We have to care enough to listen and learn. The same thing goes for those of us who may not have a faith in Jesus, but really love Trek and hold ourselves to the merits and ideals of this show. We have to be willing to listen. That's part of what is frustrating many of us within the Trek community and the faith community in this country. There is a lot of yelling happening, and some of that needs to happen, but we really need more listening. One of the initial episodes from Starfleet Academy, really a couple of them within the first 5 episodes, featured a couple of powerful themes around debate and sharing sometimes opposite point of views around a given subject. I really loved how the writers wove throughout these stories. You know, the one with the Betazoid delegation and then the one with the cadet debate team. The importance of listening and caring for the needs of the other person. This was powerful because both sides had experienced trauma in pain, and we're simply responding from a place of self-preservation. It wasn't until someone else cared enough to listen between the lines of what they were actually saying that anything shifted, that anything changed. And this is something that I hope this community will learn how to do really well. As a pastor, one of the most powerful tools I have is listening. I hope this resonates with you as you're listening now to this podcast. Maybe what you need more of in your life isn't the platform to share more of your opinions about any number of important things happening in the world around us. Maybe what you actually need is to exercise the art of listening more. This is how we learn. This is how we discern what is truth. We sit quietly and we think. Proverbs, which is one of the books in the Old Testament, written by a man who is considered by many inside and outside of the Jewish tradition and Christian faith as perhaps one of the wisest men who ever lived, said this. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, "A foolish man hears one side of an argument and passes judgment." I don't know about you, but I don't want to be foolish. Also, I've fallen prey to this many times throughout my life. As a father, I have acted on one of my children's reports of a situation only to find out they gave me less than half of the actual story. I had some backtracking to do, some apologizing, and I had to humble myself even before my children in order to show them the right way to respond in that moment when I cared to only hear one side of a story and act. How could justice possibly prevail in those situations? And that's what we're seeing happening all over this country right now today. Let's be a community of people who learn more and more and more how to listen more. Let's set the example for everyone around us, whether they love Trek and Jesus or not. Let's live out what we say we believe, whether that belief is formed through the ideals of Star Trek or the teachings of Jesus. Let's be different. Let's offer a truly better way to interact with the world around us. Hey guys, do me a favor. I love social media. I love that we get to interact with each other on Facebook, Instagram, on Discord, on YouTube, and wherever else you travel throughout the virtual universe. It is fantastic to be a click away from somebody else, from other people in community who love the same things we love, maybe even who have different opinions of the things we love, but we get to do that every single day if we choose to. So if you love this community, Trek and Jesus, if you love what we're about, I want to encourage you to share the love around. Click on all the links, like and share whenever you see a post. Share this podcast, especially if you love the message that I just gave you, and let others know that we are out here, that we are available, that we want to build a community of people who love Star Trek, who love Jesus, who want to do acts of kindness everywhere we go to everyone we meet. We want to do more than just talk. We want to live this stuff out. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, join the Discord, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and subscribe to this podcast, and get the word out for us so as many people as possible can join in the fun. And ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again for another exciting segment of Why the Heck Is This Your Favorite Episode? The portion of our show where we bring in one lucky fan to get their 10 minutes of fame discussing their most favorite Star Trek episode of all time. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time once again for everyone's favorite segment of the Brian Donahue podcast. Why the heck is this your favorite episode of Star Trek? And today I have with me very special guest, very special friend, and compadre in all things Star Trek. He and I actually attended a GalaxyCon conference and met William Shatner together. Got a little old great picture, which I might share when this podcast comes out too, of the three of us hanging out in Columbus, Ohio, a couple years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, my good buddy and friend and fellow Trekkie, and also fellow Christ follower, Todd VanGorder. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great, Brian. Thanks so much for having me today. I appreciate you bringing up the William Shatner reference. That was so much fun, that conference. I had really enjoyed going there and experiencing that with you. I actually had a dream about that conference the other night and William
What?
Shatner. I kid you not, but that's not what we want to get into today. But
All right.
all positive memories, all good stuff. So.
Good, except for my UTI. I had a terrible
Well,
bladder infection
UTI,
that
that might be TMI for your podcast. I don't know. Throwing a lot of initials out here.
SMH, man, SMH. So anyways, man, we are here to talk about your favorite episode of Star Trek and why. And I just want to say to the people listening, if you're a Star Trek fan and or you know anything about how much material is out there for Star Trek, especially when we're talking individual episodes,
Oh my
I
gosh.
realize that I am asking a very hard thing of Star Trek fans to pick just one episode. I think some fans might perhaps have a clearly defined, absolutely, I know what my favorite is, but I think most of us probably could give us a top 10 list very quickly and would go back and forth on that top 10 list of what our favorites is. So, Todd, I'm very curious as to what you landed on. Todd has not shared with me what his favorite episode is. I have no idea what's about to come out of this man's mouth. And so, Todd, without further ado, man.
Well, I don't think I'm going to surprise you with this, but
Okay.
before I jump into immediately revealing this is probably my favorite episode and why the
Yes.
heck it is,
Yeah.
I think I have to throw out a few honorable mentions.
Go for it.
Not that I'm going to go deep into that. We want to talk about my favorite episode. But first off, you're absolutely right with the quantity of stuff that's out there. The new shows that are on. I mentioned to Brian I had to make a confession before we even started going live here that Star Trek Prodigy is supposed to be actually a pretty solid show, and I had to admit I have not even had a chance to see it yet. And we were discussing where I could go take a look at that. So, my opinion of what is my favorite episode may change over time, but
Yeah, sure.
based on what I've got today, I have to throw out a few honorable mentions. Strange New Worlds has been fantastic. There are really some interesting and some unique episodes there. I really enjoyed the very first season of Strange New Worlds and their finale, A Quality of Mercy.
Yeah.
I'd given some serious thought to actually maybe chiming in on that one. I thought it was really well done. We introduced the Kirk character, and it was just really good.
Mm-hmm.
But Star Trek Next Generation has always been, I think, my favorite of the series, and will
Yeah.
probably remain so for some time. So, a couple other honorable mentions out of Star Trek Next Generation was Best of Both Worlds.
Yeah, of
That
course.
third
Yes.
season
Yep.
had come to a conclusion. They'd really come into their own, and they just developed one heck of a cliffhanger there. I had a hard time not landing on Best of Both
Yeah,
Worlds.
that's fair.
Yesterday's Enterprise is also very solid. Was a unique way to bring Denise Crosby's character back into the show, Lieutenant Yar, for those of you that are familiar with it. And then there was some story arcs that came out of that that were kind of birthed, if you will, by the yesterday's Enterprise story. But I think if I had to pick one favorite episode of all time, and it is a Star Trek Next Generation episode, I think I would have to land on Inner Light. So, is that,
As
look
an
at
all-time favorite?
you probably can't see Brian's expression because this is
Okay.
audio, but his mouth
I,
just hit the floor. I think Inner Light is my all-time favorite. It
okay.
was so well written. It stands on its own. I can take somebody that has never seen Star Trek before,
Mm.
and I can say, let me just give you a tiny bit of background information and then have you watch this episode. And I think that they will find enjoyment in it because it is
That's
so
yeah.
well written, it's so well laid out, and it stands on its own. It actually won a Hugo Award for one of the best episodes in writing. So I
Wow.
just, I
Okay.
really enjoy how that episode's laid out, how there's a story packed within the story. And, Picard, the one of the, I would say the main character, probably at Star Trek Next Generation, the captain, right? Basically goes and lives an
Mm-hmm.
entire lifetime, for those that aren't familiar with that episode, on another planet, a planet that has since gone extinct because its sun was dying. And so this was their way of preserving their heritage. They sent out this probe. And then when the probe came into contact with Captain Picard, he was able to live in and experience an entire lifetime on the planet so that the memory of these people and their planet could go on.
Yeah.
Wow. Powerful.
Yeah. And
Powerful.
well done all the way around too. That is probably, if you're a Next Generation fan, that's definitely on your top 10 list. And if you're a Star Trek fan that's well versed, it's probably on a lot of people's top 10 lists. Top 20 for sure, I would think. I just like it makes sense. The more you talk about it, the more I go, yeah, I could see Todd liking that. I don't know. I guess I was expecting more of an action piece for you,
Well, best
but
of both worlds and
right.
yesterday's Enterprise were right up there, man. I mean, I had a hard time saying
Yeah.
which one am I going to say of these three.
Yeah. Well, I love it though because the inner light is iconic in the Star Trek world, and it won that Hugo Award. Like that is huge. The writing in that and the presentation of it, the music of it was a little bit different. It had that
Yeah,
beautiful theme of Picard playing that flute, and that is something that has really resonated with fans for years. And I love Todd that you talk about it being a good introductory episode for people. You're absolutely right. It's a fantastic standalone episode. And with just a little bit of info, you can make them understand
right.
the Enterprise, the characters on the bridge.
Sure.
And because is that not fully centric on the bridge of the Enterprise? Anything on the Enterprise, is it all bridge and then the
You
rest
know,
is on
that's
the planet?
I think it is. I think
I
it's
think so.
basically centered on the bridge. I don't even know if all of the other characters are
Yeah.
represented because
Yeah.
it's mainly a Picard story.
Yeah.
So we do have, of course, your typical bridge characters, Data and Riker. Um,
Hmm.
Obviously, they call Dr. Crusher to the bridge.
Right.
When he goes under, and they're trying to bring him back out. But I think they're. I don't remember if Geordi was in this episode. Maybe they probably communicated with Geordi in engineering to see if
Hmm.
there was some way that they could like block the signal coming
Yeah.
from the
Right.
probe because they had no way of knowing if this probe was harming their captain or what it was doing as it was uploading this data.
Yeah.
But you mentioned that you were kind of surprised that it wasn't more action centric or had a lot of special effects. And I guess I could say that, that kind of stuff makes Star Trek fun. Of course it does,
Hmm. Hmm.
phaser battles and ships shooting or battling with each other. We all like that level of excitement. But what really makes Star Trek such a special program, I think, for most of us, are the good stories that are
Yes. Yeah.
involved. And that's where like I said, I tend to incline toward this one that, it's not so much an action piece at all,
Hmm.
but the story is so strong. The story of what they're trying to say and what happens there is, I think that's what resonates with me the most and what
Yeah.
really makes me enjoy that one.
I'm right with you, and you're absolutely right. And even in an action story like Best of Both Worlds, the story is really good. It is not just about the outer space battles between the Borg cube and the Borg and all that stuff. The story of how they get there and
Yeah,
how they interact and how they overcome is really what honestly makes the Best of Both Worlds so good too. It's not the action. The action's terrific in it, but
right.
it's the struggle, it's the trauma, it's the how are we going to overcome this seemingly impossible to beat foe, which was honestly the biggest bad guy we'd seen in Star Trek to date. We'd seen some villains and big, huge monsters and outer space things that for a moment posed a really tangible threat. But the Borg was something in the Next Generation that was like you weren't convinced they were going to beat them all in
Right.
all. And
Yeah.
then that cliffhanger was just terrific. But the Inner Light, man, I love I am like so pleasantly surprised, but not surprised, but I was surprised in them. You're right. My mouth about hit the floor. I just wasn't expecting Inner Light.
Well, and
Um,
if you ask me again next year, I can't guarantee you I'll give you the
right.
same answer, right? By then, maybe we'll have who knows, a Starfleet Academy or a Strange New Worlds
Right,
episode
right.
that just
Yep.
rises to the top. That's just like, oh my gosh, this is so good, and it's just come out of nowhere. So
Yeah. That's what I
we'll
love
have,
about Star Trek, man. Like it's okay. Your
yeah,
favorite episode may not be my favorite episode, might not be the next person's favorite episode, and we are blessed if we can use that word with such a library
yep.
to
And a
have fun with
variety,
and
just a
yeah.
variety. That if
Mhm.
this particular series isn't for you, as Steve Merkin on the Big Sci-Fi podcast might say, that's okay. We
Yeah.
all have our different likes, and we all have things that we don't like so much. So
Yeah.
the point, the takeaway here is that there's a variety. So
Yeah.
just because you don't like one particular series or show, don't give up on it because there's a
Hmm.
lot of other fresh takes on it, both animated and live action options for you, and just
Yep.
all of them with some really good stories. So,
And another thing we don't talk a lot about on the Big Sci-Fi podcast, occasionally maybe, but there is a huge library of novels and novellas and books around the Star Trek universe from all the different
there is.
shows.
Yep.
I've got a pretty large selection down in my office, um, and a growing library of books of Star Trek, and it's just a lot of fun. Like even if there are people out there who may not like watching television or films, but they love reading. Like, I am always trying to point people towards science fiction in general when it comes to reading. But there's a ton to offer. So if you feel like you've seen every Star Trek episode 30 times and you've never opened a book to read a single Star Trek story, you've got a whole new world waiting for you, even in the books. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, Todd, I love that you and I get to share Star Trek. We're brothers in Christ too. We're both Jesus followers and love the Lord and have encouraged each other through the years that way too, and attended church together for a while. But it's I just think Star Trek is unique in the community that exists. That when we are peaceful with each other, we can live well with each other and just, enjoy our piece of Star Trek, so to speak.
Well said.
And so Todd, man, it's a pleasure, man, to see your face. This probably won't be the last. I'm gonna have to have you on. I just decided, so you can share what your favorite film is. We'll do a what the heck is your favorite Star Trek film segment. And then on maybe also just to share one of the things I hope to do with this podcast too is to share stories of transformation, share stories of what God has done for people in small ways and large ways. So I'll probably have you on to share your testimony sometime too in the future. I'm sure people would enjoy hearing that and be
Sure.
encouraged by that too. So
I would look forward to coming back, and I appreciate you having me today, Brian.
awesome, my friend. God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Why the Heck Is This Your Favorite Star Trek Episode? Well, thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Brian Donahue podcast. This is a podcast of Trek and Jesus, the community for Trekkies who love Jesus. We're trying to have fun talking all things Star Trek and our faith, and we want to build a community of people who have fun making a difference in the world around us. If that's you, I would encourage you to join us on YouTube, Join us on Instagram, join us on Facebook, and join us on Discord too for more fun conversations. Until next time, I'm Pastor Brian, and you're listening to the Brian Donahue Podcast.